Hey all, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our unboxing and first impressions look at the Huawei Honor 9 Lite. So just a few days ago, we did a review on the Honor 7X, which came out at the start of 2018 and still remains an excellent value for the money. Well, the Honor 9 Lite essentially has the exact same specs as the more well-known 7X, except this one has a glass back instead of being made out of aluminum. So it has an interesting 3D texture to the glass that's more similar to expensive Huawei branded smartphones. The only difference is it has a slightly smaller display, measuring in at roughly 5.6 inches as opposed to 6 inches diagonally, but we still have an 18:9 aspect ratio, and it currently sells for $165 unlocked. So it's another low-cost device. Other competitors in the same price would include the Xiaomi Mi A2 Lite, which is an Android One smartphone that we also did a review on very recently, among other lower-cost, maybe Redmi phones. But again, Huawei and Honor here do have a slightly more striking design with that 2.5D curved glass on the front and the back, and we have quad cameras, so 2 cameras on the front and 2 on the back. We have the Sapphire Blue edition of the phone, and this variant comes with 3 gigs of RAM. There's a slightly more expensive model that comes with 4 gigs, so again, very similar to the Honor 7X. It has the same processor, which is the Kirin 659. It's Octa core, and it's very similar in terms of performance compared to the Snapdragon 625. So hopefully that means optimization would be a little bit better considering they're making their own processor on their own phone. So we have the phone right on top. We'll take a closer look at this in a second. We have some IMEI information. It is a dual SIM phone, so you can pop in 2 SIM cards or a micro SD card to expand on the built-in memory. There's the SIM ejector tool, which has a very interesting shape to it. And we also have a quick start guide here, which is actually pretty thick. Goes through all the quick features. Now the phone should be running on Android 8.0 Oreo, which is fairly up-to-date, on top of Emotion UI, Huawei's warranty card, and a nice little extra, a TPU soft carrying pouch, just to protect and keep the phone smudge-free. And below we do have a charger, which is using micro USB. So again, it's not USB Type-C, but it's forgivable at this low $170 price. In addition, it has a regular headphone jack, which again, some may actually prefer. So here's the phone itself. Again, it's very striking in the sapphire blue. We're going to slide it out, and we do have some information covering the front and the back. Immediately, this looks and feels like a device that is many times more expensive than the asking price. It's extremely glossy and reflective. We have the Honor logo on the very bottom here. Also, it says Huawei in a smaller font. And we have the dual camera setup. Let's peel back this film on the back here. There is the mic, as well as the speaker, micro USB, and headphone port on the bottom. On the right-hand edge, there's a volume key and a power switch. Let's tap on this for a few seconds and see if it turns on to life. And there's just the SIM/micro SD card slot on the left-hand edge, and that is it. On the front, we have the Honor logo again on the very bottom of the chin, and we do have fairly small bezels, again, for a budget-oriented device. Because of the smaller 5.6-inch diagonal display compared to many of the other phones with a 6-inch screen, it is a lot more compact and easy to hold in the hand. This phone also doesn't have a notch on the very top for the camera and the other sensors, which I think many will also like because it doesn't try to imitate the iPhone and has a more symmetrical overall look, which is still very elegant. The haptics in terms of the vibration motor seems to be pretty solid on first impressions, and before we dive too deep into the software, here is a quick size comparison with the aforementioned Xiaomi Redmi 2 A2 Lite, since we mentioned it. And again, they sell at pretty much the same price now online, roughly under $170 respectively, and they have, again, very similar specs. Both have 3 gigs of RAM on the base model, both have an octa-core chipset, Kirin 659 versus Snapdragon 625. Only difference here is a story of aluminum or metal versus glass, which is more reflective and beautiful, but also more delicate. And both do have dual camera setups on the back, along with a fingerprint scanner. And here it is next to a 6-inch phone that also has an 18:9 aspect ratio, the Redmi 5 Plus, also known as the Note 5, and you can tell that dimensions, again, are considerably larger on a 6-inch phone. This one just feels a lot more compact, more similar to an older 5-inch device. It's easier to tuck away into pockets. Like other more expensive Emotion UI phones, we have the ability to use the fingerprint scanner as a gesture pad for things like answering a phone call, stopping alarms, showing a notification panel by swiping down. So let's get started into EMUI. So again, versus the 7X, at least on paper, I think that the 9 Lite is actually a more promising value. And from a design perspective, this one definitely looks a little bit more premium and flagship level compared to other Huawei and Honor phones on the market. So if you like this particular design, I would say it might be even better value than the 7X was. So here's Emotion UI. By default, there is no universal app tray on the bottom, but we can bring that back. Drag down notification shade with these blue accents is a very Huawei thing to do. There is Wi-Fi, there is GPS, there is Bluetooth on board, so all the essentials are on here, but there is no extras like wireless charging, for instance, again expected at the $165 price tag. On the side, we do have a shade that is designed for news articles, so you can add that feed if you're interested. And we do have all the Google apps pre-installed, including Gmail, YouTube, access to Google Docs as well, which is nice. There's the Chrome browser, the Play Store, and again, the standard array of Huawei apps, which look very familiar by now. And indeed, it is running on Android 8.0 Oreo right now, out of the box, as we can see here. Camera app here looks, again, very familiar. Touchscreen is super sensitive, just like on most Huawei phones that we've checked out, with great viewing angles. And the app here for the camera interface, again, very similar to the Honor 7X, the Mate 10 Pro, and other newer Huawei devices. We have the ability to capture bokeh effect using the wide aperture mode, among other HDR and advanced modes that you can toggle around with. So it's a very complete software on board. And again, overall navigation does feel quite snappy. The phone remains quite cool as we are setting it up, so temperatures and thermals should hopefully be quite good as well. So that's been our unboxing and first impressions look at the Huawei Honor 9 Lite. Again, a very promising budget proposition by Huawei, and a reminder that even budget-oriented and mid-end smartphones here in 2018 are getting progressively better and better. Mid-end and budget phones, back in the day used to have a huge gap compared to flagship level devices, but now they might be more than sufficient for most folks to get by. They make an excellent backup device, and you don't have to waste hundreds and hundreds of dollars, especially if you are always upgrading to newer devices down the road. So be sure to stay tuned for our full review for the Honor 9 Lite coming out soon, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Huawei Honor 9 Lite.